Hi, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Hi there. Thank you so much for visiting the Mindful Weight Loss homepage. My name is Stephanie.
What's going on? Okay, sorry about that, guys. We're having some major technical difficulties tonight. For some reason, our Google Plus is kind of on a delay or something, so my voice might not be matching my lips, so I apologize for that. As you can see, we're very festive. I'll let you guys see Jackie in a second. Before we start, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Stephanie. I'm the author of Mindful Weight Loss Method. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today. We're so grateful and so thankful that you decided to be here with us tonight. I know you could be anywhere and you decided to be here with us, and that means a lot to us, so thank you so much. Again, I'm the author of the Mindful Weight Loss Method, and Jackie, who's my counterpart, she is my BFF and also my business partner, and she's the co-founder of Mindful Weight Loss Method, and she has an amazing costume on too. So I will turn it over to her quickly. Oops! Wait, did I do it?
I don't know.
You know what, Jackie? You were showing that whole time. Okay, so you're... So anyways, let me go back to myself then. Oh my gosh, you guys. I think this is going to be one of those nights. What do you think? So, happy Halloween! Sorry about all the technical difficulties. I'm Stephanie. That is Jacqueline. You saw her already with her little headdress on. She is my co-founder, business partner, BFF. And tonight we are going to talk about cravings. And so I don't know about you, but I know when I was first starting to try to lose weight, the holidays were a really stressful time for me because I knew that I was going to have a lot of problems when it came to my diet, my exercise, and being stressed out and anxiety-ridden. And that always started with Halloween. Halloween just happens to be the holiday when all the holiday parties start. You buy candy for the kids and always end up eating a lot yourself. And so that's why I wanted to talk about cravings today, since there's going to be a lot of candy around everybody's houses. And it's also going to help you, take you through to Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and all the other holidays in between that there's so many holiday parties. So during this webinar, I'm going to kind of look at my notes a lot because there's a lot of really good stuff that I found that I want to make sure I don't miss. So I'm going to kind of go through these notes a little bit more thoroughly than I normally do. So let's talk about cravings a little bit. So there's two types of cravings. There's physiological cravings and there are emotional cravings. So physiological cravings are the type of cravings that you might have if your body is in a deficit of some sort of a vitamin or mineral or something of that nature. So some kind of a nutrient. Usually when you have a physiological craving, it's not for cookies, candies, cakes, chocolate. I think you maybe have all had a random craving one time for like fruit or vegetables or maybe even like red meat. Sometimes if you're low in iron, red meat sometimes sounds good. So generally speaking though, almost I would say close in the 90% of the time or more, cravings that we have are not physiological. Generally speaking, cravings that we will have will be for sugar, fat, carbohydrates, so any of those yummy foods like ice cream, chocolate, all of that good stuff. I think also salty foods that have fat in them, so like potato chips, crunchy things, french fries, that sort of thing. That's typically what we will crave. And generally when we have those cravings, those are due to emotional reasons. And you know, the reason why our body craves these things is because there's some sort of a dis-ease or our body has gotten off somehow. We've gotten out of homeostasis. So homeostasis is just a state in the body that everything is perfectly normal and level. And for some reason, when we crave food, that is just an indicator that something in our emotional well-being or emotional life has kind of gone haywire a little bit. It's gone off course. And usually our body and our mind will give us signals. So whether you call it an inner voice or a gut feeling or sometimes you might have like thoughts of something not being quite right. A lot of times these types of warning signs or signals our body gives us are sort of quiet. So it might be like a quiet, voice in the back of your mind, or a quiet kind of feeling in your gut that tells you like something's not right. And when you ignore those feelings and ignore your kind of intuition and inner voice and gut feelings, your body says, okay, right, you're not listening to my whisper, so I'm going to yell. And what I'm going to yell is that you need food. Because essentially, food kind of acts in our bodies and in our brains like a drug. And it helps to release serotonin, which is one of our feel-good hormones in our brain. And so if you're not doing something to make yourself feel better when your body's giving you these signals and these little light, quiet kind of warning signs, then it's going to give you these loud, go to this, do this now, I need serotonin in my brain, I need to feel better, these signals to go for the candies, the cookies, the cake. And all of those little mini bite-sized candies will be a perfect example that we're all going to have in our houses in a couple days, in like 3 days or whatever it is, when Halloween comes. So what emotions are connected to cravings? The emotional issues that are connected to cravings, I think all of you will be kind of familiar with. I know I certainly am. These are the types of emotions that I suffered from when I was trying to lose weight. And it's just stress, tension, anxiety, fear, impatience, depression, just kind of feeling blue, feeling tired, like if you don't sleep enough or if you're low energy levels, a lot of times you'll crave sugary foods because it kind of gives you that boost and that dopamine level that your brain is kind of looking for and your body wants. Excuse me. A desire for love, appreciation, romance, or sexual satisfaction, anger, resentment, bitterness, frustration, emptiness, insecurity, desire for comfort, an unmet need for fun, play, excitement, recreation, or if you're having too much work and no play. And I'm kind of reading these verbatim because I want you guys to know all of the different reasons that you could possibly be having cravings. So it's not necessarily just stress. I think a lot of people associate cravings with, oh, I'm stressed out, I'm craving chocolate, or, oh, I've had a hectic day at work and, I just want chips or something. But really, I mean, if you're having unmet needs for fun, for play, for excitement, recreation, if you're having unmet needs for love and desire, appreciation, and romance, all of those things will lead to food cravings. And so there's 4 core emotions that I want to talk about when it comes to all of these different ways of feeling that I just mentioned. There's really 4 main types of emotions that are connected to these, and that is fear, anger, tension, and shame, right? So that's kind of interesting, right? So fear, you kind of think, well, I'm not really scared of anything. What does that have to do with it? Well, believe it or not, fear is the basis for most, if not all, of these emotional cravings. So anger is really these other 3. So anger, tension, shame are really offshoots of fear. So fear really is the basis, and it's the root cause. And they're basically triggers for emotional eating. So let me talk to you a little bit about fear and what fear means. And just really quickly as a side note, I also want to mention, when we talk about fear and when we talk about cravings, some people use food, and that's why we're all here tonight. That's definitely what I used. Some people use alcohol. Some people use drugs. Some people use exercise. Some people use, all like work. Some people use work. So all of these things like craving, some people use gambling, shopping. These all are things that are negative ways that our body is using because we're not listening to that little quiet inner voice that's trying to tell us something's not quite right. Something's not quite right, and we just have to listen to those feelings, because essentially when we ignore them and when we shut the door on them, when we look away and when we don't pay attention to them, they will find a way to crop back up, pop back up, and do something detrimental in our lives. So it doesn't have to be food, although that's our focus tonight. So fear, what I want to explain to you about that is fear is insecurity. When you feel insecure, when you feel like you're not good enough, when you feel like you're not skinny enough, when you feel like you're not pretty enough, when you're at work and you just don't feel smart enough, all of those things are insecurity, and they all come from fear. So when you're stressed out at work because you have a huge workload on your plate, sometimes it might be fear-based that you're feeling stressed because you think, I can't do this. This is too much for me. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I don't have the skills. Any of those things cause cravings or emotional eating. Walking on eggshells. So walking on eggshells around people, that's such a high stress thing. That's one thing that I really, really dislike. I think Jackie can say, Jackie knows, what I really do not like walking on eggshells, because I like to be very open and honest with people. And when I feel like I have to walk on eggshells, it's like this stress that I can't even explain. And so it just builds up and builds up and builds up inside of you. And you really have to get that out some way, somehow, or else it's going to manifest itself in a negative way, whether that be food or something else. Generalized fears, abandonment fears, control issues. So if you have like a control issue where you feel like you always have to be in control, and this is another one that I kind of have had to deal with along the way too, besides just having generalized anxiety about things. So I'm sort of a worrier, and that kind of goes hand in hand with control. So when you feel like you have to be in control, and essentially, the bottom line is that none of us are in control really very much. I mean, we really don't know what's going to happen, so it's so pointless to worry and stress and feel like you have to control things, because at the end of the day, we're so out of control. The universe has a bigger plan for us, and it's going to do whatever it does, and we can't really stop it. But essentially, if you're sort of a control freak or a type A personality, essentially what that means is that your stress level is going to be up to here because of all the things that I just mentioned, which is we don't have control over very much in our lives. And so that really is stressful when, there's an accident on the way to work and now you're going to be late or whatever. It's like you can't just go with the flow. Depression, anxiety, worry, feeling betrayed, feeling ripped off, feeling abused. All of these things are things that cause emotional eating, and essentially cravings are emotional eating. I like to say that there's two types of cravings. There's head cravings, so when you're anxiety-ridden, when you are lacking control, when you feel like you have to walk on eggshells, when you're very stressed out at work, those are all sort of head cravings. And then there's heart cravings, when you are lacking love, lacking romance in your life, or you just need a hug, or you need self-care, so you just need to take care of yourself. Those are heart cravings. And essentially, head cravings and heart cravings fall under the umbrella of emotional eating. And basically, essentially, emotional eating and cravings are nothing more than our mind's way of denial. As human beings, we have a brain that is insanely capable of so many things. We can imagine things happening that aren't really happening. We can make mountains out of molehills, and we can also deny our own feelings and emotions. We are incredibly capable of so many things. Let's just, this is just an interesting example. So let's say an acorn it's encoded to become an acorn, right? So it doesn't have to think about becoming an oak tree, right? It's encoded. When it gets buried, it's going to grow into an oak tree. And humans are very much the same way. We are meant to grow into beautiful, healthy, physically fit, thin, amazing beings. That is encoded in us. That is in our DNA. But we have one huge difference between an acorn and a human, and that is we have a brain, and we can choose to actually grow up into something completely different because our brain is that powerful. It's that powerful that we can kind of bypass what's encoded in us, genetically encoded and rightfully ours that we've been blessed to have. We're able to do that through denial. And that's just really crazy. But what's cool about that is that as powerful as our minds are to deny and to cause us so much pain sometimes and to cause us to do really unhealthy things to our bodies and to not grow up into that beautiful oak tree and the beautiful person that we're meant to be, we have the power to reverse that. And that's what we're going to talk about later today, is all things you can do to make sure that next time you're stressed out, you're lonely, you're anxiety ridden, or you're out of you feel like you're out of control, that you won't turn to food or exercise or gambling or alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. All of those things actually have an effect on the part of the brain that releases dopamine and serotonin, which are two of our feel-good hormones. And those are released when people do cocaine, when they take drugs, when they drink. And that's essentially what happens when people gamble, when people eat food, specifically foods that are high in fat, high in sugar, high in salt. Actually, high fat, high sugar, high salt foods, when those three things are combined, which, by the way, is in almost every single processed food, whether it tastes sweet or not. They have the perfect combination of sugar, fat, and salt to cause us to become addicted to those foods. And that's one of the reasons why people become addicted to processed, fast foods. Like, I don't want to dog McDonald's because there is a way to eat healthfully at these places, but some of the unhealthy fast food restaurants, people get addicted to these things, and it's because there is the perfect amount that's scientifically proven. They have guys in labs doing this stuff that create the perfect amount of fat, sugar, and salt to create an addiction in people, which that's totally doesn't have anything to do with, well, maybe it does kind of have to do with cravings, but that's just insane and something that I think everybody needs to know. So if you guys know me at all, you know that I love my studies and I love facts and I love providing you guys with really high-level scientific information. So I found you guys a couple studies that I thought were really interesting. And so this first one talks about how tension in the body and in the mind, so stress-related, feelings of stress and tension, they actually cause the body to release chemicals. So there was a scientist at Rockefeller University that found that the hormone cortisol, which is one of the hormones that gets secreted when you're under stress and tension, stimulates the production of a brain chemical called neuropeptide Y. Now, this brain chemical is the chief factor that causes our bodies to turn carbohydrates, our cravings for carbohydrates on. So essentially, carbohydrate is anything from chips, cookies, cakes. Sugars are carbohydrates. Generally, there are a lot of healthy carbohydrates, but generally speaking, that those aren't the ones that we turn to when we're craving or under stress. So cortisol turns on this neuropeptide Y, which then turns on our craving for carbohydrates. That's not cool. That's a bummer. That doesn't help us very much when it comes to kicking our cravings, right? The other thing about this neuropeptide Y that is not very good and we don't like very much is that it makes your body hang on to fat for a longer time. So basically, it's harder for you to lose weight. So not only does this chemical cause you to eat more carbohydrates and crave more carbohydrates, but then after you eat all these carbohydrates, it makes it harder for you to lose weight. So that's kind of a double whammy. And I'm just going to throw in a triple whammy there because why not? Let's just go all the way with this. Cortisol just happens to be the hormone that also causes you to store belly fat. So that's threefold here. So that is number one, neuropeptide Y causes us to crave carbohydrates. Neuropeptide Y causes it to be harder for us to lose weight. And finally, the last nail in the coffin here, cortisol makes us gain weight in our belly, so it makes us store belly fat. Those are all not good things, and they all come with stress. Stress is such a horrible thing for our bodies, and there's so many ways that we can manage it better, and that's a huge thing in the book that I wrote. There's a whole section on recovery and mindful recharge breaks. That's what Jackie and I call them in our book. Mindful recharge breaks are essentially little mindful actions that you do throughout the day that help to keep your stress from going up, 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 and then you crash or you crave or whatever it is to get you down, right? Because your body's going to, it doesn't matter how much you ignore this climb and the stress, your body's going to do something to get you back down, whether it's healthy or unhealthy. It does not care because it needs to get you back down to the homeostasis I talked about earlier. So if your homeostasis is here, and as the day goes on, it goes up, 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 it has to do something drastic by the time it's up here to get you back down here, right? So that is essentially all in the book. You guys should definitely buy that book. It is a treasure trove of information that I personally used myself to lose 60 pounds. And not only that, this book will also help you to just manage your stress levels, become happier, become healthier, and become the little oak tree that you were meant to be. I can't stress that enough, you guys. That's all I want for you. All right, so now to the next study. So researchers from the University of California in San Francisco, they put rats in a high-stress environment and discovered two key things. So these poor little rats were being tormented so that they were super stressed out. Hang on one second. So they were super stressed out, and these poor rats ended up eating sugar and fat. They had a choice to eat all these different things, and their choice was sugar and fat when they were stressed out. So what was crazy about this is that basically what they did was they tested the hormones in the rats' brains, and when they would eat the sugar and fat, the high sugar, high fat diet, the stress hormones, so the fight or flight hormones associated with the stress response, were diminished and were produced less. So that means, unfortunately, when we're super stressed out and we eat high sugar, high fat, high carbohydrate, tasty, yummy foods, we have a soothing and calming effect that happens. And essentially, this all goes back to emotional regulation and stress reduction. So essentially, if we can control our stress levels and manage our emotions and listen to those little quiet voices inside of us telling us exactly what we need to do and exactly what we need to focus on, then we will not have cravings, and we will not have emotional eating problems, and we will not over-exercise, and we will not gamble, and we will not overdrink, and we will not do all of these things. That's all it takes, and it really is that simple. You just have to know what to do. You know, and really quickly, I didn't say this before, and I totally should have. We are doing Q&A after this, so I'm going to talk for probably about maybe 5 or 10 minutes more. And then after that, we have an open session where we kind of just talk, hang out, and I and Jackie are here to answer any questions that you have. Please feel free to go ahead and just type them in the chat. Jackie's kind of keeping track of all of those for me, and then once I'm done with this little presentation on cravings, then we will go through all of the Q&A, and I'll answer all those questions for you. All right, so the other thing about carbohydrates, sugars, fats that are not very good when it comes to weight loss and not overeating, not emotionally eating, and not having cravings is that it actually boosts our level of serotonin, which again, I mentioned this earlier, is one of our feel-good hormones. It's one of those hormones that, you know, serotonin is one of the hormones that gets released when it's time for us to go to bed. It causes us to relax and kind of get ready, you know, more in like a chilled out state. And so, unfortunately, our body is very, very smart, and it knows that these types of foods are going to give it what it needs to get out of this like steady, steep climb and back down to homeostasis, which is where it wants to be. This is where our body wants to be, whether it's, you know, our emotions, whether it's our eating. You know, homeostasis would be when you're not hungry and you're not full. Homeostasis would be when you're not sleeping, you're just nicely relaxed. You're not way up here, anxiety-ridden, but you're not way down here like, you know, a bump on a log and can't hang, you know, can't do anything, and you're not productive. You're right in the middle, and that's where our body always wants to be. And anything that our body does, and anything that we do has a physiological reason. And when it comes to cravings, it is to get you back down to that homeostasis, to release the serotonin, the dopamine, all of these things that our body needs in order to get out of that fight or flight, high, you know, stress response, or the depressed response as well. And that kind of makes sense if you think about it, because that's why every time you've ever been stressed out or, you know, depressed or things like that, that's when we tend to have these cravings. And unfortunately, a lot of the time that happens around the holidays. I mean, the holidays are a big trigger for a lot of people. You know, not so much Halloween, because it's kind of a fun one. It's more about, you know, candy and kind of trying to stay away from that. But once we get into like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, those seasons, people really struggle a lot with emotional eating and stress eating, because it's just a stressful time of year. And that's why we had this webinar series, because I know myself, when I was going through all of my issues with emotional eating and all of my issues with weight gain, weight loss, starving myself, overeating, all of those things, the holidays were a really hard time, because I had such a mindset and fear around food and around you know, overeating, undereating, not exercising, you know, all these parties and all this stuff that I had to do and be around food and people and all this stuff, like, it really stressed me out. And that's why we really wanted to do this webinar series, so that we can hold your hand through this process. We can get through this, and I'm telling you guys, next month, November, what is it, Jackie? November?
It's November 18th, a Tuesday.
Okay, so Tuesday, November 18th, get it on your calendars if you can. That's when we're doing the Thanksgiving webinar, and I'm really, really excited about that one, because I've got some amazing tools and techniques that you guys can use to not stress out, and more importantly, not to overeat at Thanksgiving time, when you know, there's triggers everywhere, triggers galore. And I'm super excited about that. There's been a couple things that I've been kind of saving specifically for Thanksgiving that I found probably about 3 or 4 months ago, that I have a little sticky on Thanksgiving. So I'm excited that Thanksgiving is almost here, so I'll actually be able to share that with you guys finally. Okay, so now we've talked about cravings, we've talked about the emotions behind cravings, we've talked about why our body craves these things. Now let's talk about how to stop them, right? That's the fun part. So one of the ways that you can really kind of manage your cravings and manage, you know, this up and down with your stress levels is stress management. Again, one of the best things that I can recommend that you do is purchase the book Mindful Weight Loss Method. I think, Jackie, did you put the website address in the chat?
Yeah, if you can check your chat, I put a link for more information about the book, and it's not just a book. Stephanie always leaves this part out, and that's okay. That's why I'm going to just chime in real quick. It's actually a product suite, so it's not just a book on Mindful Weight Loss Method. It's a 38-page workbook that will hold your hand and kind of hold you accountable to the whole process. But so will we, if you ask, if you need us to be. Obviously, these webinars are a great place to get some live interaction. It also comes with a bunch of other tools. One is the mindful action tracker, the mindful action plan. We put bunches of examples and samples of what we have done and for ourselves and for others that have worked. And there's also a mindful hunger scale and mindful activation cards, which are my favorite because, again, this is all about mindful action steps and plans and actions, and you want to be able to track those mindful actions on your mindful action tracker. So we have made this a foolproof, excuse-proof product suite, and it's only $27, and that is changing at the end of this year. So get in while you can and take advantage of our help while we can. So back to our regularly scheduled program, Stephanie.
And that is why Jackie is my business partner, because I get so excited about all the science stuff that I forget all of the cool stuff that we have. We have so much cool stuff. So yes, and so again, you know, when it comes to these emotional eating issues, when it comes to cravings, one of the most important, number one, most important thing is stress management. And like I said, in our book, in the workbook, in these mindful action cards, in all of these things that we created, we specifically created them to, we tailored it to people, for people that have, sorry, I have something popping up on my screen that I need to close, so that they will not have cravings, so that they will not suffer from emotional eating, and so that you can really take back control of your eating habits, your exercise habits, and you won't have to suffer. You won't have to suffer like this anymore. So one really, really quick, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you are, you can do this anywhere, any place, anytime, and that is deep breathing. So when we breathe deeply, and that is from the belly, not the chest, so essentially it's breathing in through the nose, filling the belly, not moving your chest and shoulders, and then exhaling through the mouth, slowly. What's cool about that little tiny exercise is that that is one of the things that brings your body back down to homeostasis. How cool is that? You can do that in your car. You can do that at your desk. You can do that in line at the store. You can do that at the table at Thanksgiving. You can do that any place, anywhere, anytime, and it is a great way for you to, again, just bring your body back down to homeostasis, which is exactly where it wants to be. That's just one of, like, I don't know how many examples of things that are in the book that you can use. That's just one quick one that you can use anywhere, anytime. Another really simple one is just don't let yourself get too hungry. So a lot of times, especially around the holidays, I think this is the case, is that a lot of people bring in, I think we talked about this last webinar, that I used to work at a hospital, and I was just amazed by how many cookies, candies, cakes, treats, all kinds of stuff these people brought in to us because they wanted to show us that they cared, and they wanted to give us a little holiday, love. But essentially, that stuff was all around us, so we had to consistently keep saying no, 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 no if we wanted to be healthy. And that happens a lot around the holidays. So more so than other times of the year, it's important that you just make sure that you always have a healthy snack available, so when you are hungry, because there's going to be times when you're physiologically hungry, and if you see a donut or a piece of cake or a cupcake or something, then you're going to eat it simply because your body's like just going to be telling you over and over and over again, eat that, eat that, eat that, eat that. But if you're not hungry, then you'll be more likely to make the right choice. So that's just another number 2, is just try not to get too hungry. This one's a really cool one, and I can't kind of stress this one enough. It takes a little elbow grease or a little finger grease, I guess, on your part, but basically it's start a craving journal. And essentially what you would do is just whenever you have cravings, so for example, when I was going through, when I weighed 60 pounds more than I did now, I obviously weighed that much for a reason, and it was because I was overeating. And essentially what I would do is I would journal about what I ate and what I was feeling and why I potentially was eating that thing, whatever that food was. And essentially after about a month, you will have a little road map, and you'll be able to start to see some signs. and some consistencies throughout that month. So you might find, oh, every time I have a staff meeting or every time I have like a meeting with my boss, I crave chocolate, or I go and overeat, or I go and do this, or every time I have an argument with my spouse, husband, wife, boyfriend, friend, mother, daughter, whoever it is, I overeat. Or maybe even every time I go out with my friends, I drink too much and I overeat. Or, you know, because we have certain friends that kind of either push us towards healthy relationships, or we have these kind of more unhealthy relationships. And all of that stuff will start to kind of, you'll start to see, shed light on all of those things, and you'll say, wow, I didn't even realize that was happening. Because a lot of this stuff happens unconsciously. So it kind of just puts it down on you know, in black and white, so you can really see what's actually happening. Okay, so the fourth and final thing, and this kind of goes along with stress management, although this is a little bit different. One is take care of yourself, nurture yourself, do things for yourself. And when I say do things for yourself, I mean they run the gamut of, you know, just taking quiet time. I mean just closing the bedroom door. I know a lot of you guys have kids. A lot of you guys are mothers and fathers. And essentially, if you can just have, you know, somebody watch the kids, or, you know, if they're in bed or something, just take like 5 or 10 minutes in the silence and write down things that you're grateful for. Write down things that went great that day. Write down things that you're dreaming about. Write down your ambitions. Just take some time, spend some time with yourself, and essentially what that does is helps to bring you back down again to those optimum levels, and it reminds you of the things that you're happy for, and it really takes care of that soul within you. So the next thing you can do are little things like meet your friends for a cup of coffee. You know, it's $2 for a cup of coffee. You can meet at a bookstore. You can even go to a bookstore by yourself. So little things like that. They're very inexpensive, but they're ways that you can really kind of nourish your soul and rest your mind and take care of yourself. You can take a bath. That's another one that's totally free. You can get a massage. If you have a significant other, you're lucky. You can have them give you a massage. But you can go and pay for a massage too. Let me see some other stuff. Reading good books and good magazines, really inspirational stuff. Like I you know, part of the way that I was able to heal myself emotionally and mentally and spiritually from the torment that I was kind of under when I was overweight and I was overeating and I was doing unhealthy things to my body, all in the hopes of losing weight, I really began to have a spiritual practice, and that could mean anything to anybody. So it doesn't necessarily have to be religious. A spiritual practice could be anything. You could go outside and enjoy nature. You could pray. You could just, you know, think about, like what I was saying about, you know, how acorns are genetically predetermined to become an oak tree. You can just think about that. You know, you don't have to pray to God or anything like that, but you could just say, you know what, I know that my DNA was meant to be healthy, happy, and whole. And I don't need food. I don't need to overexercise. I don't need alcohol. I don't need drugs. I don't need this stuff. And my brain is really, really powerful. So I can change these things. You know, just kind of, you know, almost like those affirmations that we gave you last week, or not almost like those affirmations like I gave you last week or last month. If you say those over and over, that is a spiritual practice. That is talking to your spirit and your mind. And essentially getting into a spiritual practice daily. So do these things without fail. Do these things at the same time every day. You know, sometimes you might have a hectic morning and you can't do it in the morning or at night or whenever it may be, but do it at a different time. Try to be consistent. Try to do it every day, and I'm telling you guys, it's going to make a huge difference in your life. I can't stress that enough. So one of the things that I did when I was starting to kind of, you know, dip my toes in the water of healing my mind, body, and spirit was I read inspirational books, I read inspirational magazines, I read inspirational quotes. In this day and age, it's great because there's tons of those online and on Facebook and stuff like that. So all of those things really help to nurture yourself and take care of yourself. You can get a pedicure, you can get a manicure. You know, these things are things you can do once a month and not have to splurge too much. You can treat yourself to a facial, like I said, a massage. You can take a hike, go outside. I mean, in Florida, that's where I'm at. It's a little bit flat, so we don't have a ton of hiking trails here, but I love to ride my bike in the middle of nowhere. I always take my cell phone, of course, on these trails where I see, you know, turtles and snakes and fish in the water and all these things, and all of those things really help you to take care of yourself. Now, the final thing that I'm going to tell you guys, and this is mainly because last month we talked about positive affirmations and the power of positive affirmations and the power of positive thinking, is to give you a couple of positive affirmations that you can use to help you when you are feeling these cravings, when you are feeling kind of less than, when you are feeling this emotional, you know, slope, or you have that anxiety slope that goes the other way. You can use some of these affirmations when you're in these times, and also during your spiritual practice, whether that's morning, night, or midday, or all three, like I do. I do morning, noon, and night spiritual practice. The first one is, I crave healthy foods. I crave healthy foods. So if you just close your eyes when you're in that moment of, do I eat the cupcake or do I not? If you can just close your eyes and tell yourself, I crave healthy food, and you do it enough times, you will believe it. And that's exactly what your body needs, is healthy food. So it really does crave that stuff. It craves it, and that's a literal craving, physiological craving from inside. So you're speaking the truth, and that will help to reset your mindset and away from all of those kind of negative things. I love exercising. So I know myself, like sometimes I will think of every excuse in the book not to exercise. And so these affirmations, like, I love to exercise, rather than thinking of why you can't exercise, whether thinking why you hate exercise, whether, you know, instead of thinking all of these things, you're thinking, I love exercise. Close your eyes, say it, and have a lot of conviction when you say it. And these things become true in your mind. I'm telling you, your mind is a powerful, powerful thing. Let's use it to our advantage, everyone, please. Okay, I have plenty of time for exercise. It's true. You have plenty of time for exercise because, you know, like in our book, I don't recommend that people exercise for even 30 minutes. I recommend that you dedicate yourself to exercising 5 to 10 minutes a day. Now, what's cool about that is that generally, once you start, 5 to 10 minutes becomes longer. However, if you only have 5 or 10 minutes to move your body, get your blood flow going, increase your circulation, you're going to double, triple, and quadruple your metabolism in those 5 to 10 minutes. Who doesn't want that, right?
Woo-hoo!
I know, exactly. My little American Indian says, woo-woo! Okay, so again, that one is, I have plenty of time to exercise. No excuses. None. We don't like excuses around here. Okay, so I love eating fresh fruits and vegetables. I love eating fresh fruits and vegetables. Even if you don't, just say it. Keep saying it, and keep saying it, and keep saying it, and you will change. It will change your mindset. It will change your view on fruits and vegetables. And I'm telling you, like, I wish one of you guys out there would actually do this. If you hate fruits and vegetables, if you do this affirmation 20 times in the morning, 20 times at night, and then as many times as you can remember in between, I guarantee you, you will start to slowly but surely love to eat fruits and vegetables. I hope somebody takes me up on that. If anybody's watching and they want to take me up on that,
I would so take you up on that, but I already love my fruits and vegetables, so...
Yeah, you don't count. Sorry, Jackie. Okay. When I eat healthfully, I feel wonderful. When I eat healthfully, I feel wonderful. Say that when you're craving cookies, candies, cakes, chocolate, chips, French fries, any of those things. Because the truth is that you're going to feel like crap afterwards. It just is a fact. If you overeat, even healthy foods, to be honest, but if you overeat, so that's why one of the rules in the mindful weight loss method is to not eat until you're full, eat until you're satisfied. So if you overeat, or if you overeat, and especially if you overeat unhealthy foods, you're gonna feel like crap. So this affirmation, when I eat healthfully, I feel wonderful, is 100% true, honest. Say it to yourself 20 times in the morning, 20 times at night, and as many times as you can throughout the day, and especially when there's temptations around you. And say it with a lot of conviction. Close your eyes. Bring yourself to center. Be very mindful. And tell yourself these mantras or these affirmations. And I promise you, they will change your life. Okay, you guys.
Most importantly, Stephanie, they'll change your mindset.
Yes. They will change your life because they will change your mindset.
Yes.
Your mindset is #1 important. Stars, check marks, they're glowing. Your mindset is everything. And what's really cool about that is that we have so much control over it. Don't let your mind control you. You control it. Our thoughts are just thoughts. They're not real. They're not real. They're not, you can't touch it, hold it, feel it. You can change them with visualization. You can change them with positive affirmations. You can change them with positive mindset, stress management, and all of the other things that are in the book that I wrote, Mindful Weight Loss Method, that I think you guys have the link now. I'm sure you can tell I'm super passionate about the subject, and that is because it changed my life. Changing my mindset allowed me to think myself thin. And I say that all the time. I was able to think myself thin, and I think people think that that's crazy, but the fact of the matter is it's true, and I'm living proof. So let's see what kind of questions we have.
Oh, I have them. I've already written them all down because there's some buried. We actually have a handful.
Yay!
Thank you everyone for participating with some questions. So let's start with the first one that I saw. This one was back to the study of the rats. It says, in the study, what happened to the rats that weren't stressed out?
You know what? They didn't really talk about the rats that weren't stressed out because they weren't the variable. So the rats that weren't stressed out, because they're rats, so essentially they have a brain that's like this big. So it's like the size of a almond maybe, or like a, let's give them a walnut. We'll be nice and say a walnut, but I don't think it's that big. So essentially they will not do the same things that a human will do. They're very much like an acorn that turns into a oak tree. When in normal circumstances, they're just going to eat whatever's there, and they're going to eat what's healthy and what keeps them alive. Now, these poor rats that had the stress-induced lives, however they induced that stress, I have no idea, but they were the ones that turned to those alternative ways of kind of bringing themselves back down. So the other rats, I think, were just kind of like not really interesting to talk about because they probably just ate whatever healthy thing was there.
Perfect. Second question. When you are on a particular diet but keep craving old comfort foods you used to eat, and I think there's two answers to this one, because I think that when this person in particular, because I know this person, their diet is due to health issues, so they're not able to take on certain foods that they used to enjoy. But I think this is also a good question for people who go on a diet and start craving like the unhealthy foods that they're.
So let me kind of take it from the first one, which would be the majority of the population.
Yeah.
Anytime you're on a diet, and that actually was one of the things that I found when I was researching for tonight's webinar, is that one of the other ways that really cause cravings is by being on a very, very strict diet. So essentially, that's why people fall off the wagon, so to speak, is that, if your diet is just too regimented and too limiting, and two, and when I say diet, I'm not speaking of people who have, allergies and things like that. That's a completely different ballgame. However, if you are specifically on a diet to lose weight, like I personally went on every single diet you could think of. I took diet pills, I took all kinds of stuff. And basically all that happened is I would backslide because being too strict on your diet and cutting out whole food groups and cutting out, all of the things that you enjoy in life, that causes you to overeat. You just binge eat. Really, it's not even an emotional eating. It is it's a binge type of eating, almost where you just don't have any control. And that is a little bit harder to control than, not a little bit harder, it's a lot harder to control than emotional eating. So emotional eating, there's a lot of things that you can do to keep yourself from going way up here and keep yourself from going way down here. So, like what I said in the book, we have these mindful recharge breaks. And essentially, mindful recharge breaks, you go up like this, and then you take a mindful recharge break, and you go back down to homeostasis. So you go back up a little bit, and then you go back down to homeostasis. So you don't let yourself go way up here. And that's essentially what happens when you're stressing about, these diets and these diet plans. I really don't believe in diets. I really believe that when you change your mindset, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, you automatically make healthy choices because you're not eating for emotional reasons. You're eating for physiological reasons. And you're not eating to fill this void or fill this hole or get yourself back down here or get yourself back up here. And essentially, that is just using all of the tips and techniques that are in the book and also what we talked about tonight. Now, when it comes to people that have dietary issues, unfortunately, the best thing that they can do is try to find an alternative. And I think I know this person too, and this person is such an amazing person and also an amazing cook. And she's got some pretty significant health issues that have really limited her ability to eat a lot of different foods that most of us take for granted. I know that this person does an amazing job at trying to find alternatives. So if you fall under that category, what I would recommend is just finding an alternative to those foods that you like that is a healthy alternative for your diet, and that is something that actually satisfies your craving. So, for example, if I were to eat a low-fat cookie or like a fat-free cookie, I would end up eating all the cookies because one of those doesn't really satisfy my sweet tooth. But if I were to eat a whole, real, 100% fat, chocolate, sugar, whatever cookie, well, then I could eat just one and be happy with that. So essentially, you have to find something that will not only, work with your diet, but also can satisfy whatever that craving is.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so there are a ton of healthy snacks on the marketplace that are the first, so what are the first and most important things to look at as far as the label? Is there any red flags to keep in mind? Because you said healthy in quotation marks. There's a lot of healthy snacks in the marketplace. What should they keep in mind? What should they look for?
There certainly are a lot of healthy snacks in the marketplace right now. It seems like they are multiplying at an astronomical rate, these healthy snacks. And the thing that I just really try to stress and try to do myself is JERF. That's the acronym, JERF. And that means just eat real food, JERF. And that just means basically if it's packaged, I try to stay away from it. I try to eat only whole foods. Now, with that being said, I know that there are times, and myself included, there are times that it's really hard. You need to have packaged snacks. And the best thing that you can do is try to go for whole food snacks. So I know Kind bars, for example, those are a good example of a whole food snack. So very few ingredients. A lot of them are low glycemic. Some of them are not. So And darn it, of course, I can't remember the exact ratio right off the top of my head, but it's a simple ratio. I think it's either five, it has to have 5 grams of fiber per 100 calories, or 4 or 5 grams of protein per 100 calories. And that's a really simple way for you to determine whether something's high glycemic or low glycemic. And high glycemic quickly is a food that turns into sugar fast in your body and goes into your bloodstream quick. Low glycemic are things that don't go into your bloodstream as quick. And I love to use this little wave here. So essentially, high glycemic goes woo, and then you crash. Low glycemic kind of creeps up a little, and then you go down, and it creeps up a little, and then you go down. So that's more so what you want. You don't want this big sugar spike. You want it to go more gradual. And essentially, and you know what? I'll email everybody the link to this, and I will correct myself if I'm wrong. But I'm almost 100% that it's either 5 grams of carbohydrate. I'm sorry, fiber per 100 calories, 5 grams of protein per 100 calories. I cannot remember the ratio of fat per 100 calories. And then there's like a mixture of all 3 of those that you can have that will also determine whether something's high or low glycemic. But again, what I'll do is in the replay link, I'll look through my notes and I'll find the exact numbers, and I will write them in the email, and then as well as below the YouTube link. That's the link I'll be sending you guys.
Excellent. And Stephanie, I wish I could pitch in on that ratio, but that's exactly what I remember what you're saying. So
yeah,
but we'll make sure you guys get the exact answers, and it's probably right.
You know, one really quick thing I'll say is that when it comes to these healthy snacks, the final thing that I will say is that, again, when it comes to a mixture of fat, sugar, and salt, these are the 3 like really addictive substances that a lot of these huge food manufacturers, so I don't want to name any just in case you never know who's watching, but these huge box food manufacturers that, you know, make all kinds of things from cereal to cereal bars to granola bars to all these things, they literally have scientists that they pay to figure out exactly the ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that need to be inside of their foods, and their healthy foods, the ones that are labeled low fat, healthy, natural, all of these things, these little buzzwords, gluten-free even, that they know exactly how much to put in these things so that you keep going back for more and more and more and more. And unfortunately, the bottom line is that these big box stores and these food stores, they're really dependent on sales. So of course they want to make you addicted, and they want to make you buy more and more and more. So that is the other reason why I really recommend that you eat real foods and only eat foods that are, you know, have very few ingredients in them, and also have ingredients that you can pronounce, that aren't chemicals, that aren't flavorings, that aren't colorings, anything like that. If you have to get a packaged food, look for that. The second thing would be the ratio of fat, fiber, and protein per 100 calories. And then the last thing I'll say is that Jackie and I are working with a dear friend of ours named Dr. Isaac Jones on a high-performance health summit. Jackie will also put that link in the chat as well. And there's a guy who wrote The Calorie Myth. His name is Jonathan Baylor. And I know that he has some very specific guidelines when it comes to what is healthy eating, and they're very much in tune with what I believe, and it's just eat real food. And one of the bars that he recommends, and that I also recommend, is a Quest bar. They're kind of pricey. They're about $2.50 per bar, depending on where you buy it. That's the cheapest I found. Sometimes they're $3 per bar. But if you're like, you know, like for example, I'm going on a cruise in January, so I'll be taking some of those with me, just so that I know, you know, I have stuff that is available. It's soy free. It's sugar free. They're flavored with what's the sugar substitute, Jackie?
I'm not sure in the Quest bars. Is it stevia?
Stevia. It's flavored with stevia, and it has you know, healthy proteins in it. So that's one that I would recommend, as well as Kind bars.
Yeah, Kind bars are my favorite.
Yeah, Jackie should buy stock in Kind bars.
Actually, they should pay me to promote it with this headdress.
There you go. Okay, next
That was
question.
good stuff. Okay, another question.
10 o'clock. We'll just take one more question.
Okay. When I mindfully eat my son's Halloween candy, and when I say eat mindfully, it possibly means kind of stuff my face, and I probably eat more than I should. What can I eat or drink after to level off the glucose spike?
Well,
And if
I'm
you only knew who was asking this question.
I'm a little bit torn here, because you should always eat mindfully no matter what. And I will tell you, if you eat mindfully, you'll be able to not stuff your face with all those chocolates, and you will still get just as satisfied. So number one, most important, checkmark stars, it's blinking. Eat mindfully. That's a non-negotiable in my book, in our book, in my life, in all the people that I talk to and counsel. That is a non-negotiable. So number one, most important, eat them mindfully. Eat them. I guarantee, you know, I definitely support you eating a chocolate here and there. Eat it mindfully, you'll eat less. Now, when it comes to what you can eat or drink afterwards, I would never recommend that you eat anything, you know, above and beyond what you've already eaten if you were not hungry. Essentially, the best thing that you can do when you eat a high, we were on Jackie, sorry. The best thing that you can do when you eat something that's a high glycemic food, which would be a perfect example is chocolate, candy, cookies, cakes, is to exercise. So one of the best things you can do is just go on a walk, be active, move more. Even if you just stand up and you don't sit down, the worst thing you can do would be is to eat all this candy, cookies, chocolates, cakes, and then just immediately lay down. Your body is really adept at burning that excess sugar off. So the best thing you could do is a high-intensity workout. Second best thing you could do is a low-intensity workout. Next best thing would be just play with your kids or just be active, do laundry, move around, walk, just don't sit. And the next best thing would be to stand up. So if you want to watch TV or whatever it is, just stand up. You burn a lot more calories when you're on your feet than you do when you're seated. You actually double your metabolism when you stand up. So that would be the best case scenario. I wouldn't recommend that you eat or drink anything on top of what you've already eaten.
I have a suggestion for that one as well. I would recommend donating that candy to like a Halloween buyback, which I'm going to put a link here, that there's dental offices that will pay your child $1 a pound for candy, so then they can go buy a toy or do something with that dollar versus eating all that candy. And they also then take that candy and donate it to the troops. So then they'll send the candy over to the troops who are fighting for our freedom in places where there really isn't any American candy, let alone decent food. So they're out there busting their butts and working out and burning off the calories that they can consume. And I think it's a great little just double win-win. You get the candy out of the house, your kids aren't gnawing on it and getting, rotting their teeth or, gaining unnecessary calories, and the troops will get it instead. So that's my suggestion for the Halloween candy this year.
That is an awesome suggestion. And Jackie, I think she said she's going to put a link in.
Yeah, just put the link in. And the cool thing about this link, there's so many out there. You can Google, like, Halloween candy for the troops, Operation Gratitude. But I like this one because it has doctor or dental offices by area code that are doing this. So if you live anywhere in the country, you can look up by your area code or zip code.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you guys so much for attending tonight. It means so much to us. We're so grateful. We're so thankful for you. I want to make sure that you guys know that we are here for you. We answer every single one of our emails personally. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, you want help, you want accountability, if you want anything like that, please feel free to contact us. We would love to talk to you, Skype with you, whatever it may be. I will send you guys this replay link. And until we meet again on, what day is it, Jackie?
November 18th. It's Tuesday, November 18th. So it's the Tuesday before the week of Thanksgiving because we know people travel.
Yeah, generally we'll do it like the last week of the month, but since the last week of the month is Thanksgiving, we want to do it before that. And I also want to give you guys all of these awesome tools and techniques and things that I learned that I had no idea about that really affect how much we eat and what we eat around the holidays. Can't wait to give you all of that stuff. It's going to be really fun. So anyways, we're a little bit over time. Thank you guys for staying with us. And until we meet again November 18th at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we love you guys so much, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Much love. Bye.